We actually have a KvK matchup in 2268. A match was found, but that is not true for everyone who queued up in this most recent cycle. So stick around in this video for a quick update on some of the big KvKs that are about to unfold. Hello, my friends, and welcome back. I'm Chisgule Gaming, and as you know, I recently joined 2268, and because all content creators are cursed, that means the kingdom is doomed to fail. Okay, joking aside, except for those of you who believe in the Tooth Fairy and the Boogeyman, let's talk about the matchup that we have here, and let's talk about a couple kingdoms that also have some, I would say, interesting plot twists for the way that their matchmaking went. So as you can see, the game has actually this kind of cool map for Storm of Stratagems where it's showcasing all the kingdoms that are on here. I would love if the game actually provided some data around these kingdoms, but I'll put the data that was provided to me on screen. I rearranged it because it's now organized in the way that the allies are going to work. That is top versus bottom. Now, you can see here that 2268 is the only kingdom in a war camp of its own, and I totally get why the game is doing that based on, I think, the power level of the top-end accounts that we have. We basically have to trade positive into all these other kingdoms to offset the fact that we're a one-kingdom war camp rather than a multi-kingdom war camp. Or we need the players that we have on average to be way more active and way more punchy than the other kingdoms that are here. And like generally, I would say for an Imperium kingdom, that's a relatively safe bet. We are the only Imperium kingdom on the map as of the time of this recording. So overall, I'm pretty happy. Top versus bottom opens up a bunch of possibilities, and we can go get a look at a map for what I think the next couple months are going to look like. Now, this map was shared with me, so big shout out to, I believe it's Steve Rogers, who originally created this map. Let's get a look here at the layout. The first passes that are going to open in this top versus bottom KvK is going to be these level 4s. So there's going to be an opportunity for some side fights in some of these zones. Now, I'm going to draw us, I think, in red here, and I'm going to assume that when we fight top versus bottom, that we would win this fight and take this fight. And interestingly, the other zones are kind of free. So like Earth will move in over here. Wind, which like, do I have? I'll just use red for now. Wind will move in over there. For the opposing team in the bottom, the sort of 1z4 that's in contention, it's all the way down here. All right, they're going to take this for free. GG easy. So technically at this point, we might be up a zone. I don't know how much that matters. I have no clue. From here, you get a free zone. This is Storm of Stratagems KvK. The free zones are over here. And these are free because it's top versus bottom. So pass 5's open, people move in. From here, the bottom zones are also claimed. And so far, there's not been all that much action. Actually, I think we, on the left-hand side, are the only ones that have gotten a fight so far, if I'm understanding this map correctly. But from here is where things start to get kind of spicy. So it's really shockingly advantageous, I think, in this map to be a middle kingdom in the top middle and bottom middle. Because what happens next is that we fight for, I guess they're zone 6s, 4, 5, 6. No, maybe they're zone 7s. Starting zone, zone 5, zone 6. Yeah, zone 7s. All right. So these zones are fought for, and it's the past 7s that get you in there. So you can fight through these vectors. I guess I'll draw it in yellow to make it a little more obvious to get into these zones. So those middle kingdoms have a lot of options for like where will they go, and I kind of assume they generally will go both ways. Just like 1846. All right, going both ways here. So that sets up for a really cool Kingsland. And who wins Kingsland? I mean, technically, before Kingsland happens, there's actually a series of passes that open. It's these pass 8s. So there's actually some opportunity for kingdoms to kind of move across zones. And I think this is kind of cool. So Pass 8s make it so you can move around the map. So theoretically at this point, if, as an example, we wanted to go all the way to the right side of the map, we could theoretically take the pass over here. Then, I mean, this is a pain in the butt, but we go over to the pass 7. We could enter through the pass 7. I don't know if the pass 7s are semi-protected or how that works, if we can invade through them. But this is what it looks like as a sort of setup going into Kingsland for whatever that fight will be. Now, what's weird about this Kingsland is you will notice there are 4 pass 9s on each side, if this map is reflecting it accurately. So that means there are 8 passes per usual, but I think the kind of expectation here, it feels to me almost like this map is maybe designed for this top versus bottom situation, and then you just fort wall to make sure you can actually keep your passes. But if things evolve in a very even way, then that would mean red is kind of invading from the top, blue is kind of invading from the bottom, and that's how things unfold going into the Kingsland fight. Now, of course, the strategic advantage here is to try to take more passes before Kingsland opens, and it's entirely possible that could happen. I don't know enough about this KvK because I've never actually done a storm of stratagems, but I am looking forward to it. I do believe that one of the stratagems you can pick is the ability to get an artifact, which, like, artifacts just are insane. But this is not the only KvK matchmaking that was taking place. Let's jump back in game and talk about a couple other big kingdoms that had some surprising results. Okay, I take it back. I thought we were jumping in game, but instead, courtesy of some of the folks from my kingdom, I've got this map. Apparently this was on Facebook, but there were 3 kingdoms that were in a bit of a love triangle that one of them ended up on the outside. So that is 2377, 2429, and 1093. Now, 1093, as you know, I fought them last KvK. They are the strongest kingdom in the game. One of the first times in a long time, the game's just had a very clear, like, yep, they're the strongest, is what it is. They are who they are. But that said, they're the strongest, not by a little, but even the developers of the game are like, you are too big. Because they tried to snipe 2429 and 2377, big Imperiums, to fight in this KvK. The long story short here is that 1093 queued for a KvK format. They got the opportunity to switch to another one, so they switched to Tides of War, where they knew these other 2 Imperium kingdoms were going to be. But 1093 got shown the door, bro. No match found. It's because they're too big. They are actually just too big, and there was no way to make this KvK balanced with like 3 Colossal War camps, I assume. And then there wasn't another big chunk in Imperium in this format to kind of go up and stand against or with all these kingdoms. There just wasn't a way to make it make sense. And so 1093 got no match found. Is that the beginning of the end for 1093? I don't know, man. I've got real no match found PTSD. So good luck to them as they try to find a matchup or kingdoms that actually want to fight them. This is the problem with getting too big. Like, you want to be huge so that you can win all your fights, but then people look at you and they don't want to fight against you. So what are you going to do? Good luck to them, genuinely. So this leaves kind of an interesting KvK setup here, where apparently it is top versus bottom. You've got in the fire camp in the upper left, which means theoretically the game thinks they are the stronger camp. There's 2429. They've got 23.4 billion power and 1.8 trillion kill points. And in the bottom right, you've got 2377. They are 23.1 billion Imperium power, so they are technically lower power, and they are 1.5 trillion kill points. So it is less kill points, but they have another kingdom in there. Wait, do they have another kingdom in there? They do. Well, that's interesting. 17.3 billion power and 532 billion kill points. Interesting. So I don't know how this KvK is ultimately going to work out, but my understanding is that it's top versus bottom. And my experience of Tides of War was actually pretty good. I enjoyed Tides of War. I think that the sort of initial fighting is fine, but expensive in these zones over here, the zone 5s. The reason is that you just don't have that much healing tech, even if you're max spending. And so it costs a lot of resources, and those fights can last a long time. So those fights can really drain you. Then you enter into a free zone 6. Okay, the zone 6s are, I could draw on this map, right? The zone 6s are fine. I mean, this is like a lot like Heroic Anthem, right? So first you're fighting in these zones. The zones over here are going to be totally free, no fighting. These zones are all just totally free. But then pass 7s will open. And so there'll be some pass fighting for 3 days before they have their Kingsland fight. Right? So I enjoyed this format a lot. It was very fun. I think that these guys will have a good time. And without actually knowing what's going on in this KvK really, or having taken a really close look, this looks like it is probably balanced. The only weirdness here, it's probably balanced, honestly. It's hard to say. I look at the kill points in the upper right camp and the bottom left camp, and it looks like there's maybe a kill point differential. I don't know enough about the kingdoms and the players on the field here to really say. But if you want to see the fights that unfold in this KvK and also our KvK, consider smashing the subscribe button. Should be really fun. And look, like 1093. Good luck, man. Like the match not found curse is brutal. Sure, they'll find a way to deal with it, but that is going to be tough.